Hi guys, so I am here to do the comparison between the Spectrum Aqua markers and the Tim Holtz Distress markers. So I'm going to share with you kind of my thoughts, show you how each one works, how they're similar, differences. I've noticed a few different things. Well, of course, just by looking at it, the size is totally different. Each one has a brush tip and a fine tip. So we have the brush tip on the Tim Holtz, and we also have a fine tip on the Tim Holtz. And I noticed on the fine tip on these Tim Holtz markers, out of all the ones I have, I would be surprised if half of them work. So that's one kind of downfall about the Tim Holtz Distress markers. The Spectrum Aqua, you of course have your brush tip, and you also have your fine tip. And I have always had problems with the fine tip on the Tim Holtz Distress markers for some reason. Most of them have never worked. So, they each have a brush tip and a fine tip. They both are watercolors. So, yeah. The other thing I've noticed is the colors are all different. There's none that are really the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how well they blend with water, using it straight on the watercolor cardstock, and then putting the ink on an acrylic block and putting it on. So, I tried to pick out two really close colors. The Spectrum Aqua is Aquamarine, and the Tim Holtz Distress marker, this is Evergreen Bow. And I know these are non-refillable. I'm not sure about these. I don't know if you can change the tips on these or not. Since they're new, I haven't really seen any videos on them. So I'm just going to use a water brush pen. There is some water in it, but I usually like to dip my brush in water so I have a little bit more control. Also, I just stamped out this balloon stamp from the Mama Elephant Up and Away stamp set. So I'm going to start with the Spectrum Aqua marker, and I'm just going to put some ink right on there and grab my water brush pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend it out. So as you can see, it blends out really nicely with water since it is a watercolor marker. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the Tim Holtz one right next to it. And these colors are not really that close, but you get an idea of how well they blend with water. So they both blend really, really well with water, as you can see that. Usually when I color any images or anything like that, I will put my ink on an acrylic block. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the Spectrum Aqua, and then a little bit of the Tim Holtz Distress marker. I'm going to make sure my brush is wet, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the color up off my acrylic block, and I'm just going to go ahead and add it onto one of these balloons. And after I get the darkest on there, I like to clean off my brush because I don't want to have too much color down in here. I can always pull back out from here to add more color. So as you can see, that's usually how I do mine, is use it on an acrylic block. So here's the Tim Holtz marker. So as you can see, it blends out really nicely that way as well. So they are very, very similar. The only big, huge difference I noticed is just the color. The color palette itself is so totally different. And I will show you an example of that here in a minute. Another thing that you can do with the Spectrum Aqua markers, as well as the Distress markers that we have all probably tried, you can color directly on top of your stamp. So this is a solid flower. This is from Avery L. Petals and Stems stamp set. So I'm just going to grab 3 markers from each one that are similar, as close as I could get. And we're going to go ahead and color directly on the stamp. So I'm going to start with my Spectrum Aquas. The yellow was Sunflower. Then I'm going to come in with Blossom, which is a lighter pink. And I'm just going to add some color onto this flower stamp here. And then I'm going to go in and add my darkest pink, which is Rose Pink. And I'm using the brush tip. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically blow hot air onto my stamp itself to moisten it back up. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it down onto my watercolor cardstock. This is Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock that I am using. So as you can see, really pretty stamped image. But what I want to do is I'm going to actually take my water brush and blend it out a little bit. I'm just going to clean that off real quick. That way it's dry when I use my distress markers. So then I'm just going to take my water brush pen and just kind of blend them two colors just together a little bit. Really, really pretty. I love the colors in the Spectrum Aqua just because they are totally different than the ones in the Tim Holtz Distress Marker collection. And I absolutely love both of them, so yeah. So there's that. Really, really pretty. I love that. Now we're going to go in using the Tim Holtz Distress Markers. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to use Mustard Seed, put it right in the center, and then I'm going to come in with Worn Lipstick, and that'll be my lighter color. I'm just going to put some of that on there. And then I'm going to come in with Picked Raspberry, and that'll be my darker. And it dries kind of fast on that acrylic block or on that stamp, so that's why you want to huff on it. I'm going to do this one right next to it. And that one didn't stamp as well, but that's really pretty. So I'm just going to take my water brush like I did before, and I'm just going to blend these colors together. Just to get them to blend. And then I'm going to go in the center and blend that out. So both of them are really, really pretty. You do totally get two different images, it looks like, just because of the way the color was put on the stamp itself and the difference between the Distress Markers and the Spectrum Aqua. So that was the Spectrum Aqua, and that was the Distress Markers. Now, another thing that I wanted to share with you is in the Spectrum Aqua, from what I have went through and played with a little bit, there's a few more browns that I did not get to play with. But here are the colors that I used. I used Chestnut, Desert, and Topaz, and I colored up one of the new stamp sets from Mama Elephant called Bear Hugs, and I colored those bears up with my Spectrum Aqua markers. I absolutely love how it turned out. So then what I did, I still have to put that on a card base. Then what I did is I took my Distress Markers and I picked up 3 browns, and there's really not a whole lot of browns that in the Distress Marker collection, but I picked up Gathered Twigs, Vintage Photo, and Brushed Corduroy. I could have grabbed Tea Dye and a couple other ones, but I just grabbed these 3, and I colored up an image, the same image, with the Distress inks, or the Distress Markers. So still very, very, very cute. just the browns are so totally different in both. If I would have went more with the tea dye, I probably would have had a little bit closer comparison for you. But I didn't even think about it. So, I mean, you could probably go in there and add, you know, more of that lighter color to give it a closer look. And this is the one I used with the Tim Holtz markers. But you could probably get a closer look at those two colors together like that. So really they are very, very comparable. I absolutely love both of them. I would say the only difference is I think the Spectrum Aqua is they're more vibrant in my opinion. The other downfall is the fine tip on the Tim Holtz Distress markers. This one worked great on the fine tip. I'll show you a quick comparison of the black. See, that black one doesn't write very good. But I'll show you the comparisons for the black, because this one I just feel is very, very vibrant. And another thing is I have this happen a lot. And it drives me nuts with my Tim Holtz Distress markers. I don't know if anybody else has that issue. I might not be able to show you a comparison if I can't get that tip off. There we go. See, and then I just got to push it back in there. I've had that happen a lot on the Tim Holtz markers. Anyway, I'm just going to put a little bit of that black, and you can see this one just seems like it's running out, and I hardly ever use the black because it's just too dark. And I know these are brand new, I just got them, but I've always had that issue with the Tim Holtz ones. So I'm just going to take the Spectrum Aqua and just kind of blend that out a little bit. And then here's the Tim Holtz. So you can see the blacks are totally different. The Spectrum Aqua has more of, I would say, a brownish tint to it, and the Distress would be just more black, maybe with a little bit more of a blue tint. So that was just a comparison of the black. So they're both great products. I love them both. I just wanted to share with you a quick comparison because I know I was wondering the same thing, how different they really were going to be. But I really do love both of them. So, if you have any other questions, just go ahead and leave it in the comments below. I will try to answer them as best as I can. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play with these. Pretty much just today, really, to play with them. So, I will try to answer questions the best I can. I purchased these from HallmarkScrapbook.com. I know they are sold out right now, and they are taking a pre-order, so if you were really interested in getting some, you can sign up for the pre-order. I'm assuming they would get them in shortly. But they really are awesome. A very fun product to have. I'm very, very pleased with them. So, those were just a couple comparisons between the two. They are very similar, and I absolutely love both products. And thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will be back with a super small haul. And that's it. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.